Good evening, South Africa. You're watching Prime Report on Credible Source. And these are our top stories for the night. The Electoral Commission at the Durban University of Technology has opened its week-long online elections for the Student Representative Council. Students dodged a bullet. The National Credit Act Amendment draft on student debt scrapped. Filmmaker Wilson Mzalemu visits Prime Report and talks award-winning short film Mbali. Good evening once again. You're watching Prime Report and I am Kazini Siyebu. Joining us later in the studio, I'm Amati Manasebo with your sports and entertainment news. Let's get to it. The 2025 SRC elections are underway at the Durban University of Technology, and we went out and asked students what are their biggest concerns.
I guess for me, it's the protection of students, especially with the strikes that they usually do, to try to, get us to get what we want. But sometimes them trying to get what we want also affects us when they are striking. I think the strike should be more peaceful, shouldn't exactly affect us when we are learning and studying, especially here at City Campus. We just see them coming in, just attacking our classrooms. We don't see any peace. And every time they try to make peace, they don't make peace. They start creating violence.
One thing that SRC could address is funding for students, NSFAS students, and delayed payments. Another thing for City Campus is maybe food stalls around for things that are on campus, more available for us. I feel like City Campus gets neglected a lot of the time. Things that happen,
If you're editing, you should say,
I'm not Steve, but nothing happens here. But yeah, those are two things that I feel like they could address.
I guess from my res, it hasn't been any issues. I would say like it's very what's this, accommodative of sorts. But now that I'm thinking about it, there is a thing about hygiene. It's sort of like cleaning would be better, and sort of like the catering of students within a res when they say they're gonna do something. Because maybe June there was an issue with us coming back to they said they were going to fumigate the rooms and whatnot, and we just came there and it was like construction. And yeah, I guess they could work on their communications better, work on their hygiene, work on their sort of customer service. We are paying tenants, treat us as such. Yeah.
I am studying graphic design up at the 3rd level, and we have issues with the Wi-Fi connecting. So what usually happens is that the Wi-Fi doesn't connect, and then we are forced to go down to the library, and then we miss some things that the lecturers say upstairs. So it would be really nice, and we would appreciate if they fix the Wi-Fi issue.
SRC candidates battled it out on the Network's podcast, The South African Conversation by DUT Journalism.
Another conversation, and then we'll close it off.
Then allow us to finalize it, then move to the other one. Let us have a contribution to that.
My sister, Mina, I just want to ask one urgent thing. I've requested, maybe if possible, to set some ground rules. How are you going to deliberate on student issues? Normal, how are you going to respond on student issues while using ChatGPT? The guy is using ChatGPT. So are we going to engage about student issues on ChatGPT, asking AI, what are our issues as students? No, can you set the ground rules? If possible, he must move away from ChatGPT, then engage directly about the student issues. Because other things that he touches, the wrong things. For instance, the issue of accommodation. The reason that the accommodation was closed, more especially those residents were unconducive. But through the EFF, we were able to call back Campbell students that are reciting there, Alpine students that are reciting there. Furthermore,
for 7 years.
Can I proceed?
Apart from being a month of cultural diversity and celebration of our heritage, September is also World Suicide Prevention Month. Kabonina Mdogwe has the story.
Trying to find a
So, do you think the West influenced by social media influences dating today? Definitely.
Translating to 14,000 deaths annually. As September is World Suicide Prevention Month, the Durban University of Technology held a suicide awareness workshop to educate and raise awareness to their students.
So when you're looking at mental health, it's essentially divided into your emotional, physical, social, and psychological well-being. Mental health encompasses all of those factors and multiple different layers to impact how you think, how you act, how you feel. So when you have a good mental health, this is essentially your ability to bounce back, your ability to be healthy in terms of your relationships with others, with yourself, your ability to handle stress, to cope with challenges. And that's essentially what mental health is.
Suicide is the fourth leading cause of death among 15 to 19-year-olds globally. Young people encounter a lot of stresses ranging from poverty to lifestyle demands. Students have to adapt to the transition from high school to university and in turn adulthood, where they have to be their own support systems.
It's very important to talk about it, especially if you facing negative thoughts about yourself, because it helps you to de-escalate the negative emotion that you're facing at the time. So it's very important in helping you also to regulate your personality, because if you don't talk about it, you just go around with negative energy and you act out based on what you think and
Suicide and poor mental health have claimed a lot of lives. In order to fight against it, psychologists encourage people to open more room for conversations about such topics.
Strict and am I direct? So this is what we want. These are the discussions we're talking about. And I just want to say, you guys are actually in a great institution where some of these things are happening and we're talking about them.
I believe when it comes to mental health, it's an everyday process. You shouldn't only talk about it when it's negative. Also during positive times, because most people that end up falling into deep depression or anxiety is usually out of loneliness, not having somebody to enjoy the wins and the losses with. So basically,
It is important to talk about feeling mental health situations because it helps other people to understand the way you react to certain ways, certain things. For instance, if we have ADHD, you just know that you can concentrate on one thing for a long set period of time. So it gives us an understanding of how to engage issue.
According to stats, more men commit suicide compared to women. However, more women are diagnosed with mental health issues and more women report suicide attempts compared to men.
So there's a few things. Okay. One, societal expectation. Men, simply put, are not allowed to feel any emotion that's not anger or frustration for a large part. Happy or angry, that's kind of what men are often told that they can feel.
What I can say is, guys, don't be afraid for being judged of what you have, the situation, anxiety, and depression. You just try and push it out and just seek counseling and guidance, seeking around.
For Prime Reports, I am Kabonina Mdokwe.
Last week, government scrapped a draft amendment to the National Credit Act that could have seen students blacklisted for unpaid fees. Amahle Amanzima Masebuko has more.
For weeks, students feared that they could be blacklisted under a proposed amendment to the National Credit Act. But last week, government confirmed that the amendment will not be passed.
My name is Awande Nzuza. I'm here in DUT. I'm doing geomatics engineering. For me, I think it feels happy and slightly safe because it's giving us opportunities for that we can try and work and get money so that we can try and pay the fees that we are owing, and also so life can also go on, because other learners can think of maybe committing suicide or doing other bad things, so that they can just forget about things, or maybe others can even getting in jail, because they will end up being stealing from shops, or stealing money, so that they can be able to go and pay first the money that they are owing, so that they can try and carry on with their life.
Online petitions and protests soon followed, with young people warning that the amendment would punish students for being poor.
And I'm a freshly student of business administration. I'm relieved that the act is not passed. But so I learned about this was affected badly as a student. I'm sure some I'm a student and I'm a debts especially for some when you have many cards. I say Tologo Mr. Prize, equal the fixed score range, and being blacklisted. It's not a good thing. It's hard to tell them. So no bantu zokhokha ngani lezi ibhedlela ukuthi sasibreakfast awusakho futhi manje ukwenza amakhadi kwezinye itolo, so nje igama lakho kahle kahle selingcolile selithengitheke.
It would have meant more struggles, especially for the young professional. I don't know the stats off by heart, but I know there is a large majority of young people who had utilized things such as NSFAS or other funding alternatives to get through varsity. And as a Black person, you don't have a lot of options in terms of trying to build a life for yourself. Your only way out, or your only way into independence, is through getting an education, securing a job, and building a life from there. Most of us don't have the luxury of starting up businesses which will require big financial injections and big sponsors. Most of us can't do that. Not to say it's impossible, but majority of us are reliant on the degrees and qualifications we acquired.
The amendment may have been scrapped, but students around South Africa and universities are still questioning themselves about what the future of student debt is. For Prime Report, I am Amahle Amanzima Manzibo.
After the break, your sports and entertainment news.
When Zulu makes your jewelry, Nazo.
And now filmmaker and student Wilson Zelemu sits down with Ngazbini to tell us more about his award-winning film, Mbali, and his career.
Indeed, Amahle, and thank you. Now, from lecture halls to award ceremonies, from film students to award-winning film students, in studio today we are joined by the recipients of the 12th Simon Sabela Best Student Film recipient, who is also a DUT film student and director to the Horizon Studios, Wilson Zelemu. Wilson, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before we get to, the nice things, the accolades and stuff, let us talk about how we got here, which is Mbali. For those viewers who haven't not seen the film yet, tell us a little bit about what Mbali is about.
Well, the film Mbali explores the relationship between love, loss, and grief.
Oh, that's deep. Thank you for that. You're talking and I'm just thinking how deep and interesting that is. So I know that you and Kiana Kate co-wrote the film. So just take me back to the planning and to the writing process.
So how we collaborated was we'd go on to briefing sessions on how I'd like to bring this into words, because it's all in my head and it has to be written down. And I'd brief her and she'd write something and then she'd bring it back to me and I'd tell her to change the same, right? She wrote the first draft and then after that loved it, absolutely killed it. And then I just edited the tweaks and then, from there we shot it and that's what happened.
You mentioned a lot of back and forth there. I can imagine that must have been a challenge. So if you don't mind, just a few challenges that you faced.
To be honest, the only challenge I would say I've faced was budget and the amount of resources you need to come up with something as beautiful as Bali was is quite significant.
When you talk about budgets, I also then remember that you are still a student. So did you have any challenges with balancing, producing a film and then still being a full-time student?
And to add a full-time business owner. So also what happens is, right, so I'm a full-time student trying to produce this film as well and running a business. So it was quite a lot. And to be honest, what happened was I had to bring a lot of the income that came from the business into the film.
It definitely sounds like a lot went into this film. Now, let's get to the award. You know, I am guessing that it's a big milestone, in your career. And I just want to find out, what does it mean for you and your career, as a student growing in the film industry?
Ever since I came to DUT, I've always strived to be the best. And I can say without fear of any contradiction, there were a lot of people who didn't believe that I could be great, I would say. But when I won that, when I was on that stage, it not just to prove to other people that I did do what I said I was going to do, but it was something. I proved to myself that I said what I said and I meant it, and yeah, that's what it meant to me by winning that award.
I'm listening to you speak, and from everything that you're saying, I can just gather that you really are inspiration. You are very inspirational. You're a full-time student, you're a full-time business owner, and yet you still get to do all of these things and also still receive accolades for them. So I think kudos to you. I think kudos to you. Now, I know that you're a busy person, but before I let you go, I have to find out for the people who saw Bali and thought, I want to see more of this guy's work. What is next for you? What are your future endeavors? What is in the bag? What must we look forward to?
For the fans of Bali, I would like to say just be on the lookout for feature film. That's something I'm in the process of making. So that's something you guys can see in the not so distant future. And yeah, those are my future endeavors.
Sounds like some good stuff you have there. Once again, Wilson, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations and all the best on your future plans. Well, that's all the time that we have with you. Back to you, Amahle.
Balancing studies and survival isn't easy due to increasing costs. Students comment on the realities of campus life. Janal Kavanda has more.
The rising cost of living is hitting students hard. From groceries to everyday essentials, many say their money simply doesn't stretch far enough. For some, this means cutting back on basic needs just to make it through the month.
Ngilambile because angi-afford ukuthenga ilunch ngeke ngihlezi ngineyinki no-10 rand yokuthenga igwinya nepholoni nama-chips.
Manageable, but you have to cut some things that you like in order to buy other things such as clothes. So you have to minimize or budget your money for groceries, and that's very difficult because some of us come from different backgrounds where our parents don't work and we depend on them as well.
Because sometimes I have to choose whether I'm buying groceries or toiletries, but it has to depend. But somehow I do manage to make some side hustles because related to my course, because I'm a videographer, so I shoot videos, get paid, then buy what I need.
Let's say I'm a practicals, let's say I'll 4. That means meaning keeping my I'll 4 every month. Plus I need to buy food. Plus I need to buy toiletries. Plus I need to take care of myself. For crying out loud.
And it's not just students who are feeling the pressure. Local businesses around campuses are also noticing the impact.
I help sometimes students, they don't have money, they come in, I I give them when they want bread, I say okay, take it. When you have money, you wanna give me back. I have help like that. Sometimes student coming with short money, I wanna help them. Sometimes they coming with no money. Also, I say okay, take now. When you have money, you wanna give back. I trust them. They gonna give like that.
With students struggling to stretch every rand, a Durban University of Technology student advisor, Manishle Zikali, encourages them to find practical ways of managing their budgets.
What I would advise is to consider what is called bulk buying. So bulk buying is when you buy something but you buy it in bulk, and you're not gonna just buy one bar of soap because you know at the end of the month, before even the month ends, that soap is already gone. So instead of buying one bar of soap, try and go to, for example, Spa. At Spa, they usually have like sales, especially at the end of the month, where you will buy 3 bars of soap for 39 rand, you know, for example. So trying to get those type of products instead of buying per each of the things that you need.
The rising cost of living is reshaping the student experience. For many young people, university is no longer just about studying, it's about finding ways to cope with the everyday cost of life. For Prime Report, I am Janelle Govender.
And next, we have weather updates. From us in studio, have a good night.